Well, we would like to extend a big WABI welcome to a large group of George Hale's family, and this is just a drop in the bucket here, I think, for everybody that we could have in here. But we're kind of led up front here by George's children, Rick McHale and Michelle Bush. Thank you both for coming today.
Thank you for having us.
Michelle, I guess you've been nominated here. Can we just introduce everybody so everyone at home knows who we have here?
Absolutely. You already did Rick and myself. This is my son, Tim, George's grandson. This is Tim's son, Hudson, so George's great-grandson.
Wow.
Behind us, we have Ashton, who is a great son-in-law. Excuse me, grandson-in-law. Tracy is Rick's wife. Katie is a granddaughter, daughter of Rick and Tracy. Abby is a great-granddaughter. Braylee is a great-granddaughter. Christy is a granddaughter, Cam is a great-grandson, Andy is a grandson, and Aviana is a great-granddaughter.
Okay. That's really good. You remembered everybody.
Did a good job.
We're missing some.
Did a great job. Well, thank you for coming in today, and we just want to talk about some memories of your dad, your grandfather, your great-grandfather. And Rick, I guess we'll start with you. You're sitting right next to me here. So I'm just curious your thoughts when you walked in the building today. It's a little bit different, but I could see a lot of memories came flooding back there.
Oh, absolutely. I spent a lot of time here in the 60s especially because that was when we had the radio and the TV. So he did the 6 o'clock news.
That's right.
So I would always come out with him to on the 6 o'clock news, and especially on a snowstorm, because I knew on a snowstorm, Bozo the Clown, the people that were coming to Bozo's would not be here. So I got to crank the machine all the time myself.
Wow, that's a big honor.
See how I'm remembering all these things. Yeah, see, the schools used to come.
Sure.
And of course they couldn't come because of snowstorms. So there I was, all by myself, cranking that machine at night.
Wow, that's a big job right there. Michelle, what about you? What do you remember?
The same as Rick, coming out here from the late 60s for me, because I'm a little bit younger, but when I
throw that in there.
I did. When I was in kindergarten, of course it was half day, Dad used to pick me up, and I always came back here with him. But first we met the staff at Pilot's Grill to go to lunch. But I just remember roaming these halls and just being at awe at the stuff that was going on, and loving the radio room, watching them. At that time, you had to spin records, you had to pull tapes. There was always that light outside the door that was on air, off air, so it was just a cool experience to watch.
That's great. And Tim, now I remember you from the tournament. You were like this high, but you wanted to be there all the time and watch Grandpa doing his thing there. What attracted you to that?
So I think I was just into sports at the time.
Yeah.
It was funny. I used to joke that no one got more coverage than Bucksport media back in the day. I used to wonder why Bucksport was the biggest school in the state of Maine, and it was great going to those games and watching my cousins and my grandfather call my cousins' games, and then getting to meet all of you guys up at the tournament. And that's what I tell everyone. They talk about my grandfather and everything that he's done in his life. I'll remember him doing sports with Al Hackett and sitting up there in the tournament with you, and Bobby Beetham doing stats and running up and down to turn the microphone off because we couldn't afford to keep paying for batteries that week.
I remember those days. Yeah, that was so much fun. And Rick, and I guess Rick and Michelle, the question's for you. So when did you realize, like, I guess the only way to phrase it, my dad's George Hale. He's on the radio, everybody knows who he is. When did that kind of hit you both? Like, how old were you? Do you remember?
I don't remember when that hit, but I remember always being introduced as George Hale's daughter. It was like we didn't have an identity at some point. I remember, I think I told you the story, him calling in the mornings and asking if the radio was on because he was going to play my song. And so I would be listening, and the song Michelle would come on, My Michelle.
Oh, okay.
And I thought it was my song, and I didn't realize for many years that the Beatles did not write that for me.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I'd like to probably be on royalties by now, but yes, I mean.
That's great. There were, when I worked at morning radio with him, I got a really good musical education. It's like, I'm going to hear Georgie Girl every morning. I'm going to hear Cher. Like, there were certain people he loved to play every single morning. Did you guys kind of get a musical education too by listening to him?
Well, to be honest, we weren't allowed to turn the radio on in the car.
Okay.
And I'll tell you one story real quick is, you know, I'd always say, can I turn the radio on? I'd turn it on, and he'd shut it off. I'd turn it back on, he'd shut it off. And he said, if the radio was playing, I was at work. Well, one day he finally let me leave the radio on. And back then you didn't have cell phones, of course.
Of course.
And the next phone booth, he zoomed in and went into the phone booth to call the person that was the DJ that day to give them heck for whatever they were doing. And
They'd strayed from the playlist.
And he got back in the car and said, "This is why I don't let you turn the radio on."
I didn't
That's a
know
true
that.
story.
So
Wow.
Dan Cashman asked me last week going in before the event, he goes, what's some of your grandbrother's favorite music? And I go, out of all the times I was in the car with him, I never heard the music. And the only week I ever heard the radio on in the car was during tournament week so he could listen to the broadcast of the live games.
He always felt that he was at work.
There you
in the
go.
car.
Well, Tim, when you got older and you listened to radio, that's probably not exactly your music anyway. I don't know, but.
And I got to do an internship over at the radio station
Yes,
in
that's
high school,
right.
which was a lot of fun. So I got to work with Matt Gardner and my buddy Johnny Shields. Loved those guys and had a really great time learning what he actually did in the business and got to see it from a whole another side of it, which was really fun.
That's great. It's been such a great week because we've talked to so many people: Don Colson, Felicia Knight, Rich Kimball, Jim Morris, Tim Throckmorton. You know, all of the old guard, so to speak. But what was that like for you if you come into this building and all of these people are here that are so well known in the business, and you know they know George. Of course, they work with George.
Yeah, I knew Steve Martin very well, and Gary Thorne.
Yeah.
They actually announced a lot of my games because my father at the time was with University of Maine, pretty steady, and they would relay to him what was going on in my game.
Okay.
Yeah, that happened.
What was that like for you if he was doing your game?
Well, he did the Bangor Brewer games, I remember, in 1974 when we won. There was another game that he did over in Brewer, and I can't remember the whole details, but I remember I went down, and because there was a long pause. They said, "Okay, McHale runs the ball," and he said, "He's down." And then there's a long pause. Well, he's still down. And there was a lot of dead air. It's the only time I ever heard that, and that was interesting.
Right. Michelle, did you listen a lot? Did you listen to either the morning show or sports tournament games, things like that?
Yeah, I kind of remember it a little bit different than Rick. At home, the radio seemed to be on a lot. And there was one time during the Bangor Brewer Spirit Weeks that the cheerleaders from each town would do a song. And they played it on the radio. And there was kind of like a scavenger hunt around town as well. Well, Dad got wind that they had been receiving a lot of calls for requests for the cheerleader songs. And the disc jockey at the time might have been getting a little irritated. So he made me call and request the song while he was on the other end. And I'm not so sure what happened the next day, but it was obvious the disc jockey was a little fed up with everybody calling in for those requests. So, yes.
Well, we're going to hear some of those stories this week, especially from Tim and Rich and Jim, how they might have gone off course a little bit every now and then. But it seemed like, was George listening all the time? It seemed like he was always listening, so nothing got by him.
Oh, nothing did. Nothing did. I mean, you lived and breathed Channel 5 news broadcast and the radio. I mean, he just was as dedicated to the craft as could be.
Sure was.
Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about professional George. So now, what was George like as a dad? And we'll get to you, Tim, as a grandfather. Some personal stories of him.
Well, you know, he was a great father. You know, he had a question, he knew the answer. We would go camping at the summertime. So we got away from the radio business, and we were camping for a long time, but we'd always come back to the games. It was always sports.
Of course.
Yeah.
Right.
Always.
You mentioned how I knew that, you know, my father was George Hale. You know, you took it. I took it for granted myself.
Sure.
I really didn't understand how talented he was, and there was a time, and I'm going to say 1978, because this is getting old, and I'd gone with my father to the car races, to the horse racing, to everything going. And I went to the horse races one night, and I went upstairs on the roof, and I told him I'd like to talk to him about something. So I did, and he said, but hang on. He said, I have to parade the horses out. And he sat there and he paraded all 10 horses, if there was 10 or 12, and he looked at the program, and then he turned back and we had our conversation. And then he said, wait a second, I got to do the race. And he announced the race, not even looking at the program, and knew all them horses' names. And I left there, and I realized, I was thinking on the way home, I did this at Unity Raceway, 95, car racing. I watched him do this. I was over to Skowhegan for the horse racing. I saw him do the baseball, the basketball, and everything else. And I said to myself, this is amazing.
Wow. Yeah.
This man is amazing.
He never stopped.
He
never stopped.
You know, I think it was that time right there that I realized how talented. I took it for granted before.
Oh, for sure.
I grew up with it. And that night, I left saying, oh my gosh. Yeah. And I still believe, I don't think there'll ever be anyone. You'll have a great basketball announcer, you'll have a good football announcer, but for what he did, the overall for the car racing and the horse racing, and
could do anything.
Anything. Yeah. He did everything. And it was amazing.
Well, and to this day, his memory of all of that. If you are in a restaurant and somebody says, George, I remember listening to you at the tournaments I was on the Jonesport Beals 1972 team, and we won the championship, he'll look at them and say, and so-and-so scored the winning basket. Yeah. I mean, the memory that he has is incredible.
Well, amazing. He's Allie or Beal. So. Well,
I used it as an example, but he.
We got it.
Yeah. But his memory goes so deep of all of it, and can just pull up memories and remember shots, remember moments of the games that are just incredible.
Well, I remember Al Hackett, his great friend and partner for so many years, telling me stories about the College World Series. Yeah. That they'd go out there and there'd be rain delays, and every other announcer had a book and was trying to fill time, and George is just, you'd fill 2 hours, I'll fill 2 hours. What do you want me to do?
He told me that baseball was the hardest thing to announce because there's so much dead time.
Yes.
And he said Al Hackett was a goddamn, because Al Hackett knew every stat there was.
Al
so
was great.
If he was running out of things to say, Al would come up with some stats.
Those two together.
Yes.
And it's what you said, Michelle. Tim, I'm curious, you're a little younger, but do you still, if people find out that George is your grandfather, do you get those stories too? Like, oh, he did my game back in fill in the year or whatever it might be.
I would say not to go age brackets, but probably the 30s and above. Like under the 30 and under, I feel like don't really know him, and you get less and less of that. Like it was fun listening to Abby and Carly after the event.
That was the age, not the year, 1930.
Yeah, not the age. Like Abby and Carly saying, I didn't even know all these people knew Grampy. He's just, the guy that comes in. In my time frame, watching him was never on TV. I don't really remember him on TV, but watching him being a master at his craft on the radio and just what he could do. And I mean, I'm shocked at how they were able to set up just the little bit of equipment to run a game the way they were. It was impressive on how they could go in there and do what they did. But I don't think we could go out to eat without being told by someone about the storm of the 60s that he miscalculated.
Let's not bring that up. Well, it's still a sore spot.
And the technology's so good today that he would actually be on the air down in Florida with me and sit on the booth, and when he was sit on my deck, I should say, and he'd I was sitting there watching him one morning, and he said, "Yeah, I'm out on the beach, and these girls are all walking by, waving to me in bikinis." And I'm like,
That sounds about right. That sounds about right.
"It's 7 o'clock in the morning. We haven't had breakfast yet."
Oh my goodness. You know, we're talking so much about George as the broadcaster, and I had a conversation with Rich Kimball a few weeks ago, and he said to me, you know, George used to come in here and do his perspective on sports on Friday nights, and Rich said, I didn't realize how great a writer George was. Did you? And I don't think I did either, because you think about the broadcasting part of it, right? Thinking on your feet, ad-libbing, you can do everything you talked about, Rick. But what a great writer! Did you guys know that about him?
I did not, but being the ad-libber, absolutely. But I do remember one time in high school getting ready to take one of the exams, and it was a vocabulary exam. And I can remember walking into his room and saying, "What does such and such mean?" And he rattled it off. And then I went down through the list, and there was not anything that he missed. I mean, his brain is, with history, with all of it, is just a wealth of knowledge. And he retains it. He retains it.
That's the amazing part, what he remembers from sporting events or any news event, anything. When we were chatting with him, like it was yesterday, that he was recounting all this stuff. Was he someone to kind of regale you all with stories, or was he just, or here we go.
He still is.
Still does,
still does, yes. Yeah.
We find out things all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, I can imagine that you didn't know.
Yeah.
Something we didn't know, and I thought was very interesting. You all seen the movie Good Morning Vietnam, and where they did this thing. When my father was in, when my father was in the Navy, he was in Corpus Christi. He was a medic, and he was getting to pick all the injured soldiers that were coming back.
Sure.
Well, he decided one day, he said, you know, they're just laying here. Maybe I could start a radio station. And he said he called his brother back in Washington, D.C. and asked how to do it. Oh, wow. And so he actually was the Robin Williams in Corpus Christi, Texas, for the injured Korean soldiers coming back, and he started his own little radio station there for them.
Wow.
And a lot of people never knew that.
And the rest is history.
Yeah, the rest is history.
We learn something new all the time.
Sure.
We learn something new all the time, because his family was Southern-based, and we didn't really know them, and they passed it when we were at young ages. And so now he just starts rattling off things that he did in his childhood, or that he grew up doing, and we're just sitting there going, really? You know, we had never heard it before or understood so much of it, but
he talks about where he lived in Staten Island, and of course they had a prisoner of war camp there in Staten Island, and he said all the German soldiers that were there were so happy to be there because they were treated so well. Sure. And he said he would talk to them every day, going to school, and they would come over, and the kids would give them candy bars, but they weren't going to escape. They were treated like gold.
Wow. Yeah. Tim, same thing to you. The stories that you were regaled with.
Yeah. So Dan, I actually followed up with Dan after the viewing. Him and I were talking about. For me, I think it was really cool listening to him talk about his father. Yeah. I've gotten so many stories about him as a kid and where he grew up. You know, we've heard the Jacksonville all the way up to New York and those stories, but I'd never really heard him talk about his father, which was fun. And I think there's just so much that he's accomplished and so much he's done that you could talk to him for hours on a day and find out a new story every day.
Absolutely.
Right.
His father was a self-taught engineer. Wow. And he actually worked for General Motors for a period of time. Right. And wow. He would study how to become an engineer from having a candle and watching in Georgia and looking at books and reading.
What's the story he tells when he told, it was his father or his brother when he said he was coming to Bangor, and where is that, near Hudson Bay?
I think it's his brother. That was his brother.
His brother, that's right.
Come to the Bangor YMCA.
A little off.
He stayed at the Bangor YMCA.
Wow, isn't that something? It's also, fate's an amazing thing, right? Where I know he's told the story many times, but his plan was to come here for a year or two, and here we are 73 plus years later, still talking about it. I mean, that's just amazing.
It's his commitment to Eastern and Central Maine. Yeah. It just continued and still continues. And he learned to love the area and love the people. And he had opportunities, but
Yeah.
we still tease him about it because my sister, I can remember telling the story that he got offered a job in Florida that we all kind of give him heck about now because, really?
Yes.
You chose
He likes it in
Maine?
Florida, yeah.
You chose Maine, but he developed a love for the area, and
Yeah, we
he's-
took a
he's-
trip that year.
Yeah.
And he had an interview that never told anybody.
Really?
My mother, of course, knew, but he decided that he was going to do baseball games, I think for Atlanta Braves. I could be wrong on that one. And in the wintertime, was going to do golf matches. But he decided that he wanted to leave his family right in Bangor, Maine, and because it was a great place for the kids to grow up.
Yeah.
So he gave up a big opportunity for his kids to grow up here.
Yeah, and you're right. He could have worked anywhere. Could have gone to any market, anywhere, and done anything. Just incredible. And he does talk about that a lot. It was the people and liking it here. But I think it's kind of rubbed off on all. Nobody's gone anywhere here. The whole family's still here.
Well, we come back. We leave and then we come back.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you make your trips, but you're all still here, and that must be come down from George, right?
Right.
And as busy as he is, everyone talks about how busy he is and all the things. I don't have a memory where he wasn't there. Yeah, Hudson fell asleep.
He's bored with this.
Oh my goodness!
But I don't.
I love it.
I don't think for any of the grandkids or anything about there's not a memory where he wasn't involved. He shows up to everything. He makes it to every event.
Well, if you follow George on Facebook, my goodness, there's always there's a lot of family outings and a lot of family birthdays. And
Oh, absolutely.
he seems to be
Well,
at all of them.
Oh, he does, and we're going through a spell right now in our family with birthdays, and he'll say, "Whose birthday this weekend? Whose birthday this weekend?" And no, he loves.
I was just thinking that there was a time that he did pro wrestling and the boxing at the Bangor Auditorium,
Wow.
and for supper he'd bring these guys home. Bruno Sammartino, and would come walking to
my goodness.
to our kitchen, and the Gorilla Monsoon.
I forgot that.
All these people. There was a Professor Tanaka from Japan.
Wow.
And would come in, and I loved it. 'Cause those are my heroes back then.
Wow.
We kind of have a joke in the family because there is so much information, 94 years of experience, 94 years of meeting people, and not just in Maine, but all over when he traveled. And so he will come up with a story and we'll all kind of go, did that happen?
Yeah.
And so we'll text each other and they'll say,
Probably.
yeah, it did.
Probably,
It
right.
did.
Yeah.
But there's just so many stories, so many people that
Right.
we can't possibly know all of them and know every story.
Right, and it wasn't just the broadcasting and sports world. I mean, George was involved with the Harness Racing Commission
Exactly.
and things like that. So all the politicians
Later
knew
on.
him, the governors knew him, everybody knew George, right?
Right.
That was later on, but
Yeah,
yes,
right.
that's what happened.
Well, that's the legacy I don't love for him. Everyone looks at him as a politician on one side right now because that's where he finished his career, but he's
Right.
not a politician. He's
No.
just a person in the community like all of us that, he has a belief in some sides and everyone does, but it doesn't make up his life.
No. His love, he told me one time, was to be on the radio in the morning here and play the records and give the no school announcements.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And that's what he loved.
Right. And so I usually tell people, and you can confirm if I'm right about this, sports was great and all that stuff, but if that went away, it was fine. But it was that morning radio
Absolutely.
was what he just loved
Yeah.
to do and excelled at. Is that
Right.
fair to say?
It's just never been out of his system. It's never out of his
Radio
life.
was his thing.
And he's still waking up early in the mornings. It's just, I mean,
Well, you do it for 70 plus years.
Exactly. He's still waking up, and because his
And he
body
can
is
keep
so adjusted
he
to
can
that.
keep a real good secret because there was a code that you would have to call back then
Oh, yes.
to say there's no school announcement
Okay.
or anybody would be calling.
Sure.
And I tried to get it out of him. I was thinking to myself a lot of early mornings I didn't want to go to school if I could have made that call, but he would not give me the code.
Oh, wow. A little different now. It's all online now. You don't have to-
Exactly.
but
It
yeah.
was a huge plus, though, because we were the first ones to know we didn't have to go to school because he would call
There
us.
you
And
go.
so
Yes.
we would be the first ones to know.
And that's a story I hear a lot too, not just the sports. And He
Right.
did my game. It's like I got up and I needed to listen to George to find out if we had school
Right.
or not. That was a big thing.
Everyone in Bangor, Borough, Old
Yeah.
Town, Arnold,
Yeah.
they all would listen that morning to find out if there was school or not.
Well,
And there was a list.
Yeah.
we went through a spell because radio was so popular that when it was friends' birthdays, I'd say, tomorrow is Cindy's birthday. Can you announce it on the radio? And so he would announce it on the radio. And so I'd get to school and everybody would be like, we heard Cindy's name on the radio. It's her birthday. And he would always do those little special things that you could do.
That's nice.
Yeah.
One of the things that Felicia Knight talked about is, George he's got kind of that gruff exterior a little bit, right? But she told a story that I did, and maybe you don't know this, about how at Christmas time he would take some of the employees here to the prize closet in radio, and if they weren't making a lot of money, having a rough time, like pick something out for your kids for Christmas. I thought that was just really, wow. I did not know that story.
No,
I didn't.
I heard that. And I didn't know that either.
Wow. Just
Yeah.
tells you what kind of person he is, too. Yeah. Well, as we wrap that, we could talk all day because there's so many great stories, but I think I'll give each of you a chance here. I don't know, it's probably hard for you to process it, but what do you think is his lasting legacy? What's George's lasting legacy? What are we going to remember the most?
Like I said before, I think he was the best announcer there was. That nobody could do what this man has done, and I don't think we'll ever see it. You will not see one doing the basketball, the baseball, the horse racing, the car racing, and be excellent at it. He was the top.
His morning show for sure, and we still run into people on the daily that will say, we listen to you every morning, and I listened to you back then, I listen to you now. So I think his radio show back then, and it continued to follow him for the 70-plus years, is and the games. I mean, there's just so much, but yeah, his morning show for sure.
There you go. Tim?
I think the only word I can phrase is just a true ambassador of the community. Whether you agreed with him or disagreed with him, there was love for him, and there's not many people that can rest on that.
Yeah. One of the things, I've said this multiple times this week, but one of the things that I'm glad about is that he's getting to hear all this,
Yes.
which is, I hope he's very humble, so I hope this is like, he's really amazed at what people are saying and all of these tributes.
He is. He was in awe after the night show and thought it was wonderful. He jokes and says that he's able to hear it while he's still here.
Yeah.
A lot of these conversations go on after somebody is gone.
Of course.
And so it's humbling in that sense, and it's really kept him going.
That's great. Well, I'm so glad he's getting to see and hear all of these tributes, and well-deserved. And I can't thank you all enough for coming in and sharing these memories.
Thank you for having us, absolutely.
It's just been a great week of hearing all these stories, and certainly George is extremely deserving.
It's wonderful for the young
tributes.
kids to see also that what Grampy used to do.
Right.
They weren't around to see that, and so they'll see him on TV, and we'll talk about it and what he did.
Right. Well, I thank you all for coming, and especially the young ones, and
Thank you.
even the ones that didn't make it all the way through.
Even Hudson here.
It's okay. But
They'll
thank
have
you.
to watch it later on.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you so much, all of you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Yes.